Buckle up, folks. We're diving into some seriously deep waters today.
Oh, yeah, we're going way back.
We are talking the Book of Jasher, people, which is, I'll think of it as like the extended cut of early biblical history.
Yeah.
So we'll be focusing on like the period from Adam to Lamech.
Okay.
But trust me, this isn't like your grandma's Sunday school version.
No.
This is like, we're going to uncover some like family drama.
Right.
Secret knowledge.
Yeah.
And just twists and turns.
Definitely some twists and turns.
That'll make you rethink everything you thought you knew.
What's really fascinating about Jasher, I think, is it goes beyond those like well-known stories, you know?
Yeah.
It really digs into like the nitty-gritty, like the motivations, the consequences, the stuff that like you just get hints of in those classic texts.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. It's kind of like, when you watch a movie and then you see like the deleted scenes.
Right, exactly.
And you're like, whoa, that changes how I see everything. Oh. So speaking of changing how we see things, let's talk about Lamech.
Okay.
Descendant of Cain.
Yes.
Accidentally kills, wait for it, Cain.
Whoa, talk about a plot twist.
Right. I mean, it's like cosmic boomerang.
It really does make you think about like divine justice. Did God like orchestrate this whole thing, this seemingly random event, you know?
Yeah.
To kind of fulfill that promise of punishing Cain for killing Abel?
Right.
Or is it more about like the unintended consequences?
Yeah.
Like the ripple effect of our actions, even generations later?
I mean, what do you think?
That's a tough one. It definitely adds like a whole other dimension to the whole Cain and Abel story.
Right. It's not as simple as we thought.
No, not at all.
But to really understand how we get to Lamech doing that, we got to rewind.
Okay.
Back to Adam and Eve.
Right.
They've lost Abel, and now they have another son, Seth.
So Seth's birth, it's like this beacon of hope.
Okay.
A chance for humanity to kind of start fresh. But as Jasher tells it, that hope is fragile. And during the time of Enosh, Seth's son, things take a bit of a dark turn.
Okay.
We see this rise of idolatry.
Idolatry.
Yeah, people were worshiping idols made of like everything.
Really?
Wood, stone, iron, even brass.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it seems like a pretty simple act, right? Just worshiping idols.
Right.
But it feels like it reveals something deeper.
Oh, absolutely. It points to this like fundamental shift in humanity's relationship with God.
Okay, so how do you see that playing out?
Well, it's this constant struggle between faith and wanting something concrete to believe in.
Yeah.
Humans, we crave something tangible to focus our devotion on.
Right.
And in a world, without established religion at that point, these idols, they became that focal point. Even if it meant like straying from that original covenant with God.
And that makes me think about like how even today we're still grappling with that same tension. Like wanting something concrete versus like a more abstract faith.
Absolutely.
But this shift towards idolatry, it doesn't go unpunished.
No, it doesn't.
Jasher describes this like mini flood.
Oh, yeah.
Caused by the river Cainan.
Right, like a little preview of what's to come.
Exactly, the big one.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is even after this flood, they don't learn their lesson.
I know. It's like they keep pushing, defying the very power they're rebelling against.
Stubborn. Seriously.
But okay, so before we get to the main event, the big flood, we meet this character, Cainan, Enosh's son.
Now, Cainan, he's like a total wild card.
Okay.
He's described as having this incredible wisdom and like the ability to control spirits and demons.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah, and get this, he even foresees this, like even bigger flood coming.
Wow.
Tries to warn people by like writing his prophecies on these stone tablets. So it's like, imagine having that knowledge.
I know, right?
That foresight.
Heavy stuff.
Must have been a burden.
Oh, definitely.
But it makes you wonder about like the role of prophecy.
Right.
Passing down this knowledge in these early societies.
Totally. And here's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
Cainan has like a huge family.
Really?
Yeah, 3 sons and 2 daughters.
Okay, so maybe knowing what he knew about the future, he thought, okay, I need to like spread this knowledge.
Yeah, like having lots of kids is like insurance.
Right. Like at least some of them will survive to pass down the message.
Exactly. And it speaks to how important like family lines, lineage was back then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it sets the stage for our next plot twist.
Hit me.
One of Canaan's daughters, Zillah, marries Lamech.
Lamech, the descendant of...
Cain.
No way.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, hold on a minute.
That's huge.
Right. It's like merging these two family lines that had been totally separate. It's like trying to heal that rift, that started way back with Cain and Abel.
Yeah. It's like, can we overcome the past? So now we've got these intertwined family lines.
Yeah.
We've got this looming prophecy of a massive flood.
Right.
And now we get to Zillah giving birth to Tubal Cain.
Tubal Cain. But even his birth is anything but ordinary.
Really?
Jasher tells us that Zillah was barren because of this potion.
A potion.
Yeah, women were taking it to stay, youthful and beautiful.
Wait, like they had beauty potions back then?
Apparently so.
Seriously, what kind of potion are we talking about here?
I don't know. Jasher doesn't get into the specifics, unfortunately.
Man.
But the fact that women were going to these lengths says a lot about how much emphasis was placed on, like, women's appearance.
Yeah, and how far they would go to, fit these beauty standards.
Exactly. And it's a theme that we still see today, right?
Oh, absolutely.
These crazy beauty standards, the pressure.
It's all there, even in these ancient stories.
Yeah, some things never change.
So Zillah stops taking this potion.
Right.
And finally, she has Tubal Cain.
And here we are, back to that shocking event we started with.
Okay.
Tubal Cain grows up. He goes hunting with his dad, Lamech, who, by this point, is old and blind.
Oh, right.
And Lamech, he mistakes Cain for an animal.
Oh, no.
And kills him.
It's like, talk about fate playing a hand.
Right.
But it's more than just an accident, right?
Yeah, it raises so many questions.
Yeah, like free will versus, divine intervention. Was Lamech always meant to do this?
Yeah. Or was it random chance that just happened to fulfill God's promise?
Jasher leaves us hanging on that one.
It does. It leaves it open to interpretation.
Very to think, for sure.
But hold on, the tragedy doesn't end there.
Oh, no. What else happens?
When Lamech realizes he's killed, his ancestor, he's overwhelmed with grief.
Of course.
And in another just heart-wrenching accident, he kills his own son, Tubal Cain.
Oh, man. It's like Shakespeare or something.
Right.
So much tragedy.
It's a powerful reminder that our actions, they have consequences.
Yeah.
Even if they're unintended.
And those consequences can ripple out, affect others for generations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it leaves Lamech completely devastated.
Yeah.
His wives, they're horrified. They abandon him.
Oh, wow.
He's alone, full of guilt and despair.
It's a tough scene, man.
It is.
But amidst all this tragedy,
yeah,
Jasher gives us this feeling of something bigger coming.
Oh, yeah.
Like a shadow looming.
Like something bad is brewing.
It's like humanity's wickedness is just escalating.
And God's anger is reaching a boiling point.
Feels like we're on the edge of something huge.
You got it. The stage is set for the great flood, that ultimate consequence.
Right.
But before we dive into that epic tale, we got to understand the key players.
Okay.
And the events that lead up to it.
Gotcha.
So we left off with humanity, like on the verge of total destruction.
Right. On the brink.
And now we're stepping into Noah's world.
Okay.
A world, it's drowning in wickedness.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
The Bible gives us the basics.
Right.
But Jasher, it's like it paints this really vivid picture.
Oh, yeah.
Of what led up to the flood.
And
how Noah had to deal with this, increasingly messed up society.
Yeah, it's like we're getting this behind the scenes look at this, epic drama.
Exactly, the director's cut.
Exactly. And, Jasher doesn't just, focus on the mechanics of the flood. Like how much rain fell, that kind of thing.
Right.
It really delves into the human element, the social and spiritual climate that, set the stage for this whole catastrophe.
And it all starts with Mount Ararat.
Yes, Mount Ararat.
Which takes on a whole new meaning in Jasher.
It's not just some random mountain where the ark happens to land.
Right, there's more to it.
According to Jasher, way before the flood, back in the time of Jared, Enoch's father, Mount Ararat, it was this place where angels came down to earth.
So it already had this, spiritual vibe.
Oh, yeah. Definitely, like a connection to the divine. Yeah. It's almost like it was, foreshadowing the role he would play in the flood.
Like a beacon.
Exactly. And speaking of Enoch.
Yeah.
His role in all of this is, super important.
Okay.
Remember those stone tablets with Cainan's prophecies?
Oh, yeah, the ones about the flood.
Those are the ones. Well, in Jasher, Enoch gets those tablets.
He inherits them.
Yeah, and it becomes his job to warn people about what's coming.
So he's not just this, like, righteous dude walking with God.
Okay.
He's actively trying to, like, wake people up.
Trying to shake them out of their complacency.
Did anyone even believe him?
You know, Jasher kind of paints this picture of a society that's so deep in sin and skepticism that they just, like, dismissed him.
Really?
Yeah, they thought he was crazy.
Wow, the irony.
Right.
Makes you wonder if Noah faced the same thing when he started building the ark.
Oh, I'm sure he did. Jasher doesn't shy away from showing the struggles Noah went through.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Building this giant ark without any modern tools.
Yeah.
Surrounded by people who were basically laughing at him.
That must have been tough.
Oh, for sure.
It's like trying to convince people about climate change today.
Exactly. All the evidence is right there, but they just refuse to see it.
Yeah. And in Noah's time, ignoring those warnings, well, it had some pretty dire consequences.
It sure did. So how does Jasher actually describe the flood itself?
Yeah. Is it like the traditional story?
It follows the same general idea.
Okay.
The rain, the rising waters, the whole world submerged.
Right.
But Jasher adds these details that make it, like, way more intense.
Okay, like what?
Well, for example, it describes the cries of the people who didn't listen to Noah.
Oh, wow.
Their desperate attempts to climb mountains as the water rises, only to be swept away.
That's heavy.
It is. It really drives home the sheer power of the flood.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was, you know, more than just a natural disaster.
Right. It was a judgment. Yeah.
Exactly. A consequence of humanity's choices.
Yeah.
But Jasher also introduces this element that you don't really see as much in the traditional account.
What's that?
The role of rebellious angels.
Oh, right, right. I remember that.
It suggests that something even bigger than just human sin was at play.
Yeah, like some kind of cosmic battle happening on Earth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jasher suggests these fallen angels, they were like corrupting humanity, contributing to all the wickedness that led to the flood.
So the world's flooded.
Right.
Noah and his family are safe on the ark, surrounded by animals.
Yeah.
But it wasn't exactly smooth sailing, was it?
Not at all. Jasher describes the ark being tossed around like a toy boat.
Oh, man.
For months. Imagine the claustrophobia, the smell,
Oh, yeah.
the constant fear of, like, being swallowed up by the waves.
It must have been a real test of faith.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They had to completely rely on God's promise to get them through it.
Yeah. And eventually, the waters recede. The ark lands on Mount Ararat.
Safe and sound.
But even after surviving something like that,
Yeah.
I bet the trauma stayed with them.
Oh, totally. Jasher actually captures that really well.
Really?
Yeah, it talks about how hesitant they were to leave the ark.
I can imagine.
They had just witnessed the complete destruction of their world.
Yeah.
You know, the consequences of humanity's choices.
It's a lot to process.
To step back into that reality, even a cleansed one, must have been terrifying.
Makes sense. It's like stepping into the unknown.
Exactly. They had no idea what to expect.
Right.
But eventually, God reassures them.
Okay.
Tells them to go out and repopulate the earth.
Wow. A new beginning.
Yeah. A chance to create a world where, you know, that cycle of sin and destruction is broken.
But is that even possible?
That is the question, isn't it?
So we're back. We've gone from creation to the flood, and now we're in the aftermath.
Yeah, the world is like brand new again.
A clean slate?
You know, you could look at it and think, oh, a fresh start, everything's good now.
Yeah, like problem solved.
But Jasher doesn't really let us off that easy.
Oh, no.
It shows us that even though physically the world's being cleansed, human nature, well, it's a different story.
Yeah, you can't just wipe away human nature.
Exactly.
So how does Jasher paint this post-flood world? What's different?
Well, just imagine everything's gone.
Like everything.
Yeah, not just the bad people, but all the knowledge, the skills, everything that made up civilization.
Wow.
So Noah's descendants, they're starting from scratch.
Yeah, but like with this heavy knowledge of how badly things can go.
Right, that's a lot of pressure.
So who's in charge of rebuilding?
Jasher puts that on Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Okay.
It's their job to repopulate the earth.
Yeah.
And to, like, carry those lessons from the flood, you know?
Make sure history doesn't repeat itself.
Exactly.
But knowing how humans are, I'm guessing it doesn't go perfectly.
You're right. Jasher actually talks about all these power struggles between the brothers and their descendants. It's like all the jealousy, the ambition, it just comes right back.
It's like no matter how many times you reset things,
Yeah.
humans will always end up in conflict.
It does make you wonder if it's just part of who we are.
I know. It's a little depressing.
Yeah. But Jasher also shows some good things happening too,
Oh.
It's not all doom and gloom. People are rebuilding.
Okay.
There are new cities, agriculture, new skills developing.
So even after all that, they still want to create, to build?
Yeah, it's like that desire is just part of us too.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of creating, there's this one guy, Nimrod, who's a big deal in Jasher.
Oh yeah, Nimrod. In the Bible, he's just mentioned as a mighty hunter.
Right.
But Jasher, it really dives into his story.
Okay, so what's his deal?
Well, he's really ambitious. And he plays a big part in setting up early kingdoms.
So he's not just some hunter dude.
No, he's a leader.
Okay.
He wants to make a name for himself.
I mean, isn't that classic? You start with good intentions, then you get a little taste of power.
And it goes to your head.
Exactly.
And that's where the Tower of Babel comes in.
Ah, yes, the Tower of Babel. That's all about humans getting a little too big for their britches.
Right. They want to reach for the heavens, become like God.
Which, spoiler alert, doesn't work out so well.
Nope. It ends in disaster, people scattered, everyone speaking different languages.
And Jasher blames Nimrod's ego for all that.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, even after the flood, those human weaknesses, they're still there.
The pride, the ambition.
Leading to more conflict, more division.
So we're kind of doomed to repeat these cycles.
But maybe that's what Jasher's trying to tell us. It's not really about what happens on the outside.
Right.
It's about the battles inside each of us.
The choices we make.
Exactly.
So it sounds like Jasher is more than just a book of stories.
Oh, absolutely. It's making a statement about human nature.
Okay.
It's saying that the real fight isn't against some outside threat. It's against our own flaws.
That's a tough one.
But it's also a challenge. We may not be building towers to heaven.
Yeah.
But we all face those same temptations.
Yeah.
The desire for power, for control.
And Jasher is telling us our choices matter.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a pretty powerful message, and I think that's what's so great about these ancient texts. They're like a mirror,
Yeah, and they show us ourselves.
And maybe even give us some clues on how to deal with our own struggles.
I think that's a great way to put it.
So that wraps up our deep dive into the Book of Jasher.
It's been a wild ride.
Seriously, from creation to flood and everything in between.
Hopefully you learned something new along the way.
And if you're feeling adventurous, check out the Book of Jasher for yourself.
Yeah, see what you discover.
Well, that's it for today.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
And keep diving deep.